Anyhow, I'm just really thrilled to be here. I really mean that. Today was a very moving experience. And it's hard to believe 40 years have gone by. And to be on the water at the actual spot where Lolita and Hugo were captured. And realizing this is the spot that they were shipped. I saw the dock where they were taken and carried off in a stretcher. I was on the receiving end at the Miami Seaquarium, and Hugo landed there, and I became his trainer. So, yes, I haven't lost for words, actually. It was really a very emotional day, and I put 2 roses on the water for Hugo and Lolita. And, you know, I just think that more people should know about it. It's such an incredible story. When you look at the footage of the capture, how many people have actually seen that? You know, there's a video called Lolita, Slave of Entertainment. Is that the title? Bill Gorski's film. It's really well done. But people haven't seen it. The masses of people haven't seen it. And so I'm trying to find a way to get that story told again, because, you know, these films are like, and they're like books are like, or like CDs. They're in the record store of the CD, you know, and you see them in the window and they're advertised, and they're gone. And then there's more out there, and you start all over again. So we need to keep trying to reach the masses of people. How many people saw the Cove? Well, quite a few years. So about 300,000 people around the world have seen it. On the 29th, it will show on Animal Planet. 300 million people are going to see it. So it's really about getting. So it's really, we got to reach those masses. The big audience is television. It really is. That's where people go. That's in everybody. Everybody's got television set in their house, and so I'm trying to convince my son. Well, I have convinced him actually to do a 1-hour piece on the orcas and feature Lolita for Animal Planet. He's producing and directing a new TV series which will air on the 27th on the Animal Planet. And I've just come from Los Angeles. We were there for 4 days promoting this new TV series, and I'm having a hard time believing they're actually going to show this on television. And Animal Planet. Animal Planet could not survive without the zoos and aquariums. And this television series is very, very anti-captivity. And the woman who is the president, I just spent 3 days with, Marjorie Kaplan, the president of Animal Planet, is under tremendous pressure, has been for a long time, to make sure this is never seen, this TV series. And I told my son, because he was very excited about this, you know, he went to the Animal Planet, and he said, think of the Cove as a pilot for a television series. They said, brilliant, and they gave him a contract to do 6 episodes. And we've done 3 so far. We have 3 more to do. But I said, don't expect this to be seen, because I've done these pilots before. And this industry, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. $2 billion a year in profit. They have tremendous lobbying power. And even though Animal Planet makes it, it doesn't mean it's going to get shown. And I never expected it to get shown, but it's airing on the 27th. And I want to show you a 3-minute promo they did. Nobody else has seen this in the United States yet, except the 500 journalists who were at it's called the Television Critics Association. And we did 3 days of that, and David Attenborough was there with his new show, and all the networks. They're in for 3 weeks, and everybody told us this is the best show by far they have seen. Because it's a very unusual show in that it's totally anti-captivity. When people see this, they're going to think twice before they buy a ticket to see Lolita. That's the important thing. And so what we have to do is we have one made about Lolita. And they're interested. I talked to them about that. Of course, the orcas are the big draw on this multi Anyhow, trust me, it's good. Not far away, you can do the Animal Planet, whale wars. Yeah, and right after whale wars, you'll see it. And then on the 29th, they'll run the entire movie, and then after that, they run the next 2 episodes, which take place in the Solomon Islands. You did 2 episodes there. They've been killing dolphins in Tahiti, as you saw in the Cove, for about 400 years. And they kill about 1,000 a year in that Cove. Very similar situation in the Solomon Islands. They've been killing dolphins for about 400 years. And they kill about 2,000 in each place. So and we were there, we did 2 episodes. And part of the 3-minute video you're not going to see today. But the important thing is, on April 8th when we were there, they stopped. We signed a contract with the 3 chiefs of the tribe, and Earth Island Institute is giving them financial support to find alternatives to killing dolphins and gophers. It's not impossible to pull these things off, like Lolita. It's important to keep the pressure on it and get to the public, get to the general public. And that's what we're trying to do with Lolita. Is everybody here okay? Or is it you need the mic? Okay. Well, yeah, I don't really have a speech or anything, so maybe we can turn this into a group discussion if somebody has a question. Somebody had a question all earlier, and I asked them to save it until. How many orcas are performing? Howard probably knows. I don't know the numbers. I don't keep up with numbers. 41. There are 41, yeah. There are a lot of them in France. Antibes. I saw a lot of them there. Greenland as well. Yes. Very good idea, yeah.
It is. It's been explored. Well, Ken Balcom tried to do that, proposed it in a very scientific way in the early 90s, actually. And I discovered doing a talk to a group in Oak Harbor that included a retired Navy officer that way back in the 80s, he was an acoustics officer, and he thought that would be a fascinating experiment, so he proposed it from the Navy as a sound experiment, and the Seaquarium, of course, turned it down because of exactly what you're saying, that it would illustrate those bonds and that they miss each other, that they recognize each other. So it's completely a management decision to actually completely forbid that. So that's what we're doing here today. They not only say they're educational, but it's a requirement for them to have whales and dolphins in captivity that they have to have an educational component.
And the Lolita and all of the dolphins in captivity are not owned by those entrepreneurs. They're being held in trust for the American people. All they have is a public display permit. They don't own them. They have a public display permit, and one of the requirements is that this is an educational experience. So what they do is bastardize the definition of education. I mean, you can literally point to a dorsal fin and say, that's a dorsal fin, and that's all that the National Marine Fisheries Service, well, they were in charge, they're not anymore, APHIS is, but the government officials, that's all they require. So that's the problem. The problem is, it's a $2 billion a year business. They pay taxes just like you and I do, no different. Where does that money go? It goes to the government. So don't expect the government to fix the problem. They are the problem. They are part of the problem. The promiscuous permitting process is the problem. The National Marine Fisheries Service protects fishermen, not fish. They protect corporations. They're not going to protect the orcas or the salmon fishermen, and the people who exploit orcas is who they protect. This is the Department of Commerce. Their job is to facilitate commerce, so the system doesn't work. You have to get the people, consumers. It's really all about empowering consumers. That's what we're doing in Japan. We're trying to get the Japanese people to understand that the dolphin meat they're buying is contaminated, because if they knew that information, the consumer wouldn't buy it. It's that simple. So it is true with the dolphin captivity issue. When this television show airs, millions and millions of people are going to think twice before they buy a ticket. And it's going to have a huge impact on that industry. They're already trying to figure out what to do about this. I don't know if you've seen the latest SeaWorld ad, but they've changed they're doing a makeover. They're all about conservation now. And they do some things, with stranded manatees and occasionally the stranding network and so forth, but that is minuscule relative to everything is relative. Relative to $2 billion every 12 months in profit, that's just tokenism. The largest slaughters of dolphins in the world, like in Taiji, is really the captures are the economic underpinning of it. And if you can educate the consumers, so anyhow, that's what we do, and we hope we can do that for Lolita, with this animal planet. So yeah, they're still being captured in Taiji. That'll start September 1st, and it'll go on through March. Well, they're not coming in the United States anymore. They were in the past. They have gone from Taiji, from Iki, Taiji, and Futo to SeaWorld, the Miami Seaquarium, Indianapolis Zoo, the U.S. Navy. They've gone all over the world. And it was when Earth Island Institute threatened to file a lawsuit against National Marine Fisheries Service and their promiscuous permitting process, they stopped it, only under the threat of being sued. So they can't come here anymore, but they're going to Turkey, they're going to Europe, and a lot of them are going to, I'm sorry, they're not going to Europe, they're going to Turkey, they're going to China, Hong Kong, different places. And it might go on for a long, we think we can stop the dolphin slaughter if we just keep showing up and keep the pressure on. We have some Japanese folks now that have the ear of the Prime Minister. C.W. Nicole is one of them, who is like Hemingway in Japan. He wrote Harpoon, the best-selling book ever in Japan. He's become a friend, and although he supports traditional whaling, he lived in Taiji, and he hates what goes on there. And he knows the Prime Minister. He talks to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister wanted him to be the Minister of Forestry. He doesn't want that job. He lives out in the mountains, and he has a forest reserve there. He doesn't want to work in an office, but he's talking to people who make decisions in Tokyo. And so that's starting to happen, and that's very positive. There's 50 dolphin areas. Can you look at 51 now? 51 dolphin parks in Japan. And if you go there, any one of them, or you go to SeaWorld or the Miami Seaquarium and ask them, why are you displaying dolphins? They'll tell you, we do this so we can sensitize the public, and we can educate them, and then they're going to protect the dolphins. Well, 50 dolphin areas translates into 100 million people who have seen the show, and now they're educated, and they're going to protect the dolphins. And when I show up in Taiji September 1st, I won't be able to find one of them. So there is no connection between dolphin shows and conservation. And I was thinking about that when we were out on the water today, putting the flowers there where this violent capture took place. And in my mind, I'm sort of arguing with these phantoms who were capturing them out there, So let me get this straight now. You're going to capture them here from Penn Cove and put them on display so you can teach people respect for nature, right? That's the deal? It's absolutely crazy. So the only hope is getting to consumers. And the best way to do that, I think, is television. And we're working on that.
You didn't get a disclaimer from
You would need the cooperation, yeah, of the, but there should be a disclaimer there, a warning sign. I worked with Hugo for a year, and I quit. That's when I really walked away. I had left after Flipper, when I came back to work with Hugo. And the tank is actually smaller than this room, right? It is smaller than this room.
Oh, yeah. It's only 80 by 35 feet.
So can you imagine, and it's not this deep, it's about, well, Hugo, when I would feed him, I would stand at the edge of the tank and his head would be above the water, half of it would be, his tail would be underneath him holding him up, so he's standing up. It's ridiculous. It was, today there are manatees in there, and it's too small for manatees. So about a year I took it working. Yeah. Yes, of course. Yeah, I felt it today. Do people know? Most people get up in the morning and they go out the door. They hope they don't bump into something on the way to work. They do their job. They come home, they watch television, and they're not awake. They're just not conscious. Those are the people, when I go to the Miami Seaquarium and look in the stands, they're clapping at all the wrong things. They're supposed to be rebelling at what they're witnessing. They're witnessing a spectacle of dominance. When you see the Lolita show, that is a spectacle of dominance. And it teaches us that dominance is good. Dominance is right. Dominance works. And that's what they're teaching their children. And they just don't get it. You have to really show them. You have to show them, and I think we can do that. But we have to, like this Lolita, Slave of Entertainment is a very powerful film, but unfortunately people haven't seen it. It hasn't gone on television. The killer whale, yeah, that was killed recently a few months ago at SeaWorld. That was not an accident. That was a calculated business risk. Look, this is a wild animal. If you and I went out into the jungle and brought in a tiger and put it on our property, our private property, and after, we killed 3 people, we would be arrested probably after the first one. This was a calculated risk. There have been many of these orcas, not just the orcas, it's also the dolphins. That's where the reason the Flipper television show ended, by the way. The dolphins get very rough with you when they're in the water. They rebel against this. And a lot of people have been hurt. And they cover it up. There's lawsuits, and the deal is we'll settle out of court and you sign this paper and we keep this quiet. As a matter of fact, before that, just a month before the SeaWorld incident, there was a guy, a dolphin killer whale trainer, killed in Spain by a SeaWorld orca, and nobody heard about that because it didn't happen in the show stadium. It happened during the training area where there were, today everybody's got video cameras in these shows, so they couldn't hide that one, but if they can hide it, they will. Captivity of dolphins and whales is a failed experiment. We've been doing it since 1938. It started at Marineland in Florida, St. Augustine, and it's basically the same show that you saw in 1938. And it's a failed experiment. People who get hurt, trainers, people who are swimming with dolphins at these dolphin swim programs, should file a lawsuit against the National Marine Fisheries Service for allowing them to get into a cage with a wild animal. Yeah, I think it was. Well, they're not mentally healthy. That's what I think. I think most of the dolphins and other whales who are in captivity for long periods of time are not mentally healthy. Habitat dictates behavior. That's a given in science. Habitat dictates behavior. the habitat of Lolita and the others. We're talking about a sonic creature in a concrete box. Their primary sense is sonar. Our primary sense is light. Most of the animals in the zoo are visually oriented like we are. Scent oriented or visually oriented. The dolphin is sound oriented. And they're in a concrete box. We've been doing this since 1938, and we should have figured out by now they don't belong there. They shouldn't be allowed by the government.
How do you respond to students who are going through a marine biology program and they're returning the pool or whatever it is they're doing, but they're coming back, they're coming out with their that I'm here to help maintain the species or help the species that are dying out in the ocean, where your only form of keeping them alive, so to speak, conservation work? How do you see that?
Well, I hope young kids do intern at SeaWorld and get the information and do what I did. Turn against it. It's a bad idea, it doesn't work, and it has nothing to do with conservation. And you can't really put your blinders on. That's what in the industry, when you're a dolphin trainer, or probably when you're an intern working there, they have a term, put your blinders on. Just pretend that all this isn't going on. It's an exotic job, you're going to get paid well, and that's it. Yes. I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
I think you're asking, do we go to schools? Did Ric or I or others go to schools and try to talk to the kids to let them know?
Gotcha. I don't do that anymore, but I did that for a long, long time. Yeah, I did that for many years. I would go to school and try to get people to understand that captivity doesn't work in the hope that they'll stop buying tickets. But it's a real slow process. You're talking to 25, 30, 40 kids, you know. I would rather do it on television where you're talking to 100 million people. That's what my son is doing. He's more effective than I am. I spend a lot of time walking around with one of these signs, reading all of them. I reached a few people. He reaches, 100 million at a time. Well, the solution to the captivity issue I've struggled with for many, many years. And, look, I don't have a silver bullet or sit by the right-hand side of God and have the solution to all these problems, but I've struggled with that. What is the ideal situation? I think it's stopping all captures and releasing those that can be released back into the wild, and many can. Those that are born in captivity and cannot be released into the wild successfully should be given birth control. There is no reason in the world for a dolphin to be born in captivity. There's no reason whatsoever. It's not a positive educational experience. And so that's the best way to phase out that industry. If you go to the Monterey Aquarium, they have dolphins on display, and they're hanging from the ceiling made out of fiberglass. That's all you really need. You don't really, people protect humpback whales, people who have never seen a humpback whale in captivity. You don't really need them in captivity. So you can have a successful aquarium without having a live dolphin, and the Monterey Aquarium is proof of that. They have a line going around the building every time I've been there. I think it's the most successful aquarium. They don't have live dolphin shows. So you don't have to have a dolphin in captivity to educate the public about dolphins any more than you need a dinosaur. People love dinosaurs and they've never seen them. It's all about money. It's about jobs and money and money and jobs. And I know that, I walked away from that industry. I could have saved it. I could have my own dolphinarium When I walk out of this room, I know who to call in Switzerland and get the money to do a politically correct dolphin therapy center in the Bahamas and be making $5 million a year. I can do that. But I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Instead, I go to Tai Chi where I can't sleep at night. Well, they're breeding them, or inbreeding them, I should say.
The question for anyone that didn't hear is, where is the Navy getting their dolphins now? So yeah, they're breeding them.
Yeah, they're inbreeding. They want to capture them. They desperately want. I know people in that industry who contact me, and let me know what's going on. They desperately want to, and they're probably going to apply for a permit at some point. The only reason they don't capture them today, they haven't captured in 20 years almost, is because Ben White. How many people know Ben White? For Friday Harbor, he and I disrupted the captures off the west coast of Florida. We went to jail, went on a hunger strike, and CNN and everybody came to us, and we exposed the fact that we captured. People didn't know that. And so they're not capturing them because they don't want that negative exposure. That's the only reason they're not capturing them. It's legal to capture them. And if they apply for a permit with the National Marine Fisheries Service, they will get it. They approved 99.4% of all permits to exploit dolphins any way you want them. So it's really the public, it's the television set again. That's why they're not capturing dolphins. They don't want that negative publicity. But they desperately want it because the gene pool, they want to strengthen the gene pool. They're inbreeding. They don't inbreed in the wild. So they got a problem. Yes, sir?
Sort of, if we were to free all the dolphins in captivity, say, and ecotourism takes over, like it seems to be gaining some momentum now, and now we start to actually take people out and let them swim with wild dolphins. And what's your opinion of that?
Well, that's a popular question, swimming with wild dolphins. I do it myself in the Bahamas, in a place where it's 40 miles from land and right in the little Bahama Bank. So when I go there, and that's the scene you see Mandy in the Bahamas, I took her there, and I was swimming with those dolphins, diving with them. I didn't swim with them, but I dived with them. And when I go there, they initiate the contact. And when I get underwater, they control the interaction. And they get bored with me pretty quick, and they leave. And they can swim. Now, that's in the Bahamas. That's a different habitat than, say, the big island of Hawaii. The Hawaiian Islands, are mountaintops. And as soon as you get out a little ways, you're in very deep water. And so they go out at night, and they are feeding. And, they're working all night. And they come into that bay in the morning, and they want to rest, and they want to nurse their young, and just take it easy. And they can't because people are converging on them. Too many boats, too many people. Same is true in Key West and now in Bimini. In Bimini, my son was just there filming, and they're actually touching them. And anytime you feed a wild animal, they get in trouble. Whether it's a bear, a dolphin, a raccoon, whatever, they always get in trouble. So, I've come to believe it's best just to leave the dolphins alone. Yeah, and I go there, and it's sort of hypocritical because I do dive with them in the Bahamas, but I realize that very, very few people are going to get there. If everybody in the world was there, of course, it would be destroyed in an hour. But that's not going to happen. But the best thing is just leave them alone. Dolphin freedom story? Well, I tell you, I've rescued. I'm about to do 2 more incidentally in Turkey. There are 2 dolphins right now trapped in a swimming pool, and thank goodness for the internet. We were able to launch a campaign. We have hundreds of people protesting it, and the Russian entrepreneur has abandoned them now. And so we're going to show up there to try and rescue them and try to release them so we can find out where they came from. Also in Indonesia, there's a traveling dolphin show that my son just got back from there, and we're going over there to do a rescue. And so I've done those in Guatemala, Nicaragua, Colombia, Brazil, Haiti, and the only one I failed on was at Sugarloaf in the United States. And that's because there's a multi-billion-dollar industry who don't want them released. They were waiting for us to release them so they could rescue them. And that's what they did. But my favorite releases are the covert ones that I do from time to time. For example, in the Abacos, in the Bahamas Islands, there were 12 captured and put into a cage for a swim program. And I spent the entire night removing 660 feet of fence. And when the sun came up, they were free, and I was flying out of the country. And it was, instead of spending. So I go to those. Those are the best because they're very quick, and you don't spend thousands of dollars and a lot of time on it. It happens. But those were captured, and also in Haiti we did the same thing. And the Minister of the Environment was with us. So was the Coast Guard and the Haitian Army. And you can see that if you Google it, dolphin freedom or dolphin release Haiti, you'll see that with those. But those are my favorite ones because they're done really quickly. Have I thought about documenting them? We have documented several, or National Geographic did, or somebody. We always do that. And when we, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Colombia, all those places I mentioned, part of it is to get the minister to pass a law so that they can't capture anymore and they can't display them. So that's part of it. Should write a book. I wrote it too. Actually, I have a new one out there. It's only in German now. It's called that book, which means the code, and I've given it to an American agent hoping to get it published in English. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the dolphinarium? The biggest one in Florida where it's big and it's safe, the dolphins are free to go play?
Yeah, you're probably talking about Dolphins Plus. They tell people there, because they open up the fence and let them out of their cage, and they're in a canal. And yeah, if you look down that canal, you'll see it leads out to the Atlantic Ocean. But dolphins, being sonic creatures, are never going to go out because from their perspective, that's going into something. They don't do that. They don't go into small, narrow places, so it's an illusion. The so-called Dolphin Research Center also says they're free to come and go, and it's just not true. There are some places that have dolphins they let out with divers, like in West End in Freeport and in Roatan, but they're psychologically dependent on their trainers. They were captured, actually the ones in the Bahamas were captured in Mexico, and you let them out for a little while. That's how we filmed Flipper. You let them out of the cage in the Bahamas, and they follow me around with the bag of fish. So they're psychologically dependent on the trainer. Yeah.
Miami Seaquarium. Are the only closest to retiring Lolita? I mean, there's Washington and
Well, I don't know what they're thinking for all the same reasons I don't know what you're thinking. But Arthur Hertz, who owns the Seaquarium, doesn't own Lolita, but the Seaquarium, is a very greedy person, in my opinion. And I know that about him. I don't know. I think that there was enough pressure, maybe, something out of left field like this oil spill or government pressure or something. So we have to keep the pressure on. And we're going to do that. Sorry? Do I have a third? Oh, I don't know. I have a 38-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter, and both of them are activists. They've both been to Tai Chi, Japan. Yeah.
If he's free, can he walk?
Well, frankly, the big problem with the Seaquarium is that's their big draw. He probably thinks if they lose Lolita, they're going to go out of business. They have brought in a dolphin swim program that makes a lot of money, but we have to just keep the pressure on and hope for divine intervention or something. Yes. They are applying for a loan. I believe they're building an aquarium in downtown Miami somewhere. I don't think it has anything to do with dolphins or whales. build anymore on Key Biscayne. Key Biscayne, where the Seaquarium is zone city now. And they don't want the Seaquarium to expand because there's too much traffic on those bridges and so forth. So we don't know what's going to happen. We just have to keep the pressure on. Yeah. Gosh, I don't know. I'm not really clocking that. I spent so much time in Japan and other places that this is one of many, many issues I'm on. Howard might be able to answer that. It's hard to tell. People in Miami don't go to the Seaquarium. It's tourists who come in in cruise ships and people renting cars, and we haven't been able to reach them yet. But we also have now Blood Dolphins coming up that is going to be more powerful than the Cove, I believe, in terms of educating people and getting them to take action by doing nothing. Don't buy a ticket. That's the message. Don't buy a ticket. The consumer has all the power. And there's a very good, we talked about shift in consciousness, there's a very good feature article in Time magazine this week that nails that. I am always so surprised when I get through immigration in Japan after so much, going there for so long and doing exposing to this. I'm just so surprised. When I say goodbye to my family and go, I tell them I might be back on the next plane, because when you're standing there in Tokyo going through, there's like 10 lines and there's long lines of people. Every once in a while you'll see them take some guy out and put him in a little room somewhere. Usually he has a turban on. And they put him in a little room and I figure, well, that's what they're going to do to me. And somehow I get through it. I go, yeah. And they're probably following me because now you put your fingerprints in and they scan your eyes and you're in a computer and they track you. So they follow me. I see that. But the police, not in Taiji, but outside, Katsura and Wakayama and Shingu police, I have a very good relationship with them. They're very professional, they're very respectful, and so I like the Japanese people. I must tell you, I like Japan, I like the Japanese people, and that's why I do not support the boycott of Japan, even though, and this is a secret, I'm on the board of advisors for Sea Shepherd. If they knew that, they would arrest me for conspiracy to disrupt commerce. They told me that. But the Japanese people don't even know this is going on. And to boycott them is a blanket indictment against all Japanese people. And it seems very unfair to me and even maybe racist. So I'm looking for ways to work with the Japanese people, not against them. They're not my enemy. They're not guilty of anything. 1% of the Japanese people eat whale meat. And a very, very small percentage of that 1% even heard of eating a dolphin. So the Japanese people are not our enemy. Yes? I'll go back. I'll go back. I have the 30th. I'll leave. Yeah, and we'll be there. We're promoting this. I have to do the David Letterman show or the Jay Leno show on the 29th. One's out there on different coasts, so I can't buy a ticket until I know which coast I'm leaving from. But I'll go back. Yeah, first. We're going back. The reason we're going back is because now we have the attention of the Japanese media. And if I go back, I can get as many journalists as there are people in this room to know that the slaughter has started again, and it's going to go on for 6 months, and it's like a media event. I have to make up reasons why I'm going back. I don't know why I'm going back, other than to just keep Taiji in the news. It's like what Howard and Susan are doing. Keep Seaquarium in the news. Keep talking about Lolita, and don't let it be forgotten. That's what I'm doing. And I don't know what I'm doing. I show up in all these places. It sounds like the Guatemala thing. When I show up, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have to figure that out. What you have to do is usually made known to you, a few minutes before you do it. So I'll go there, and we're planning to have some kind of event, but I don't know the details. And but it's all about a media, informing people. And I think Howard mentioned that street theater. I do a lot of that. Dolphins, saving dolphins should be fun. Well, we had fun today. We did that around the water. It was absolutely wonderful. Well, I tell you, that I get that question 100 times a day, and I am not exaggerating on email. I will get a couple hundred, especially now, and you'd think I would have a simple answer, a silver bullet, but there is no simple answer. I don't know what to do myself. I have to find, when somebody asks me, what can I do there? Sometimes it's a Skype conversation, I'm talking. Well, I have to find out who you are and what you do. Okay, well, I'm a school teacher in Osaka. Oh, really? Wow. How about if we get all of your Japanese students, not Westerners, Japanese students, to lobby Minister Noda, the Minister for Food, Health, Safety, and let's get a warning label on a package of dolphin meat because it's contaminated and it doesn't have a warning label. If we ever got that warning label on the package, nobody's going to buy it. So I know what he can do. But I don't always know what other people can do. I have to figure that out, and that takes work. And usually, it's a lot of work. It's not like you have I tell people to go to our website and take action, I don't know if you saw the Academy Awards, but when they invited me up on the stage, this is really dangerous because we have an audience of 1 billion people, and you invite an activist on the stage, anything could happen. And so I held up the sign, text Dolphin 44144. We got 1 million signatures for President Obama and for the Prime Minister of Japan. And that's one of the things we'll do when we go September 1st. We're going to be using a computer to figure out who are all these people. We discovered we have more than 80 countries. So we'll have 80 flags, and we'll present those it's actually 1.4 million signatures. So that's one thing we're going to do. But I don't always know what to tell other people to do. I really don't. Just do whatever you can do. That's what I have to do. I have to figure out what to do. I just do everything that you can do, whatever that is. And it does not have to be about dolphins and whales. It could be about women's rights. It could be about forest issues. Find something that you're passionate about and just start. What you have to do will be made known to you. And just do it. There doesn't have to be dolphins. There's no point in saving dolphins without saving their habitat. Oh, you mean for a dolphin show? Well, I see no social redeeming value in any dolphin show. The dolphin show is nothing but a display of dominance. What's the point? What is the point? Are we really amused by what Lolita does? If you see the Lolita show and you're amused, somebody needs to wake you up. No, you really shouldn't do it at all. We really should leave the dolphins alone. They should not be in captivity for you to swim with. You shouldn't get in the water with them any more than you should when they get into a cage with a lion or tiger. Well, Animal Planet won't do that. I have to do that on Animal Planet. They're just selling a show. The show's a product. They're selling it.